Welcome back to Cheche, the program where opinion counts. Joaquim Chissano, the head of the African Union Observation Mission to the Kenyan election, and Kennedy Misime, chairperson of the Election Observer Group, are our guests this morning. And over the last couple of days, Mr. Chissano, I'll start with you. We've heard claims of rigging implicating the office of the president. How does your mission deal with such claims?
Well, we didn't hear this since we arrived because maybe because our group has arrived only yesterday, but this did not come to our attention.
Well, I'm bringing it to your attention now.
Yeah. So what we can do is when we know what it is, then we will go and try. It's not our role, actually. Our role is to observe. But we can also, as I told you, that for the sake of peace, we can, at this stage, contact the authorities which are involved in this and see what they are doing.
But you said you observe the pre-election environment. And so if you have candidates alleging that the infrastructure for rigging is being put in place, doesn't that affect the outcome of the election, the conduct of the election?
We do contact the parties. That's why we are having contact with all institutions. So we'll go to the institution which is concerned with this matter and to see what is happening, because we have to understand. And sometimes we can get an explanation which is contrary to the allegations. For instance, we were at the Electoral Commission, and we have cleared out doubts which we had about the system, and we are now certain that rigging is almost impossible.
So far, is there anything that you have observed that makes you worried?
No,
anything?
It was just the system itself. For instance, if you have these ballot boxes, the question was, are there any possibilities of staffing? And they demonstrated to us by A to Z that that is impossible. So we are more reassured. So if we have any information, we'll go to try and understand whether this allegation makes any sense, and then there we will make our own judgment.
Okay, Mr. Misime, how would you treat those allegations then, given that you've been detailing electoral malpractice, claims of rigging, that the infrastructure is being put in place?
You know, you have to deconstruct the term rigging. What do we mean here? Because the allegations, to the best of my knowledge, what I heard is that use of state machinery to campaign for a particular party. So that's part of the pre-election. It's not part of the rigging in terms of the infrastructure for voting and tallying. So it's illegal. I think the election law is very clear. Civil servants will not be part of and parcel of the electioneering process. State machinery in terms of vehicles, offices, should not be used. So I think that's why I think the aggrieved party wrote to the commission, and the commission has communicated to the alleged suspects, and I think it's been cleared.
You're also touching on the abuse of incumbency, though.
Yes.
So how do you also deal with that?
As monitors, we document, and we've not documented it at that level where meetings are held secretly. Like an observer, that's not, visible to your eye. But at the local level, we've documented, but a few cases of provincial administration officers, rallying support for particular candidates, but they are scattered in our reports.
On Sunday, Professor Anyang Nyong wrote an article in the newspapers.
Yes.
I think you've read it.
Yes.
And he was casting aspersions as the security of the materials.
Yes.
He's not sure whether the material is secured where it is supposed to be. That what he was talking about is staffing. That the ballot papers can be found by people outside the Electoral Commission.
Yes. And
then abuse the system. What do you think about that? What the allegations from the...
No, that's now a question of trust. But to the best of my knowledge, when we go to the polls, the boxes will be open. There will be observers in the polling station. There will be party agents to witness. And then people will vote, the votes will be counted and then sealed in the precincts.
But is there any need to worry about the security of the material?
That's casting a person and saying that you don't trust the state machinery.
Because that's what he said. He said in 2007,
yes.
in 2007, they observed some certain strange things happening. They warned the system. They were not trusted. It looks like the same thing that happened in 2007 is going to happen now. That is the gist of his article.
Yeah, but in terms of what is in place, you know, you can't rig at the polling station because there will be everybody. All the concerned parties will have agents, there will be observers there. So what you do, and then if there's the tallying, then like we will be doing PVT. In the samples that we have, we will be able to see if what was counted is what is tallied. So the only way for me you can rig elections is maybe fail in terms of logistics, or deliberately subvert the process in terms of security.
Okay, respond to Gandani in Kwale County, who says observers, whether local or international, have not assisted so far. The reports are not given out, so we voters feel that they don't assist. So they're really questioning the work that you do and whether it's meaningful. That
we don't assist in...
You don't help the process because you write reports which are not given out, so voters feel that, there is no impact you're making on the electoral process. Yes.
I made a decision between monitoring and observing.
Okay, what's the difference?
Is that as international observers, they're perfectly neutral. They will come here and document what they see and then make a recommendation at the end of the process. Now, if Kenyans want to use that report to improve their, electoral systems and processes for the next election, is upon them. They can't do more than that as international observers. As local observers, you can document processes, especially if there's abuse of the electoral process as things happen. But then, as observers, you also have to report it to the the institution concerned, and they are the ones who are supposed to act.
Yeah. At the end, we issue a statement. We hold a press conference, and all questions are put there at the press conference. But after that, we have a comprehensive report, which then the report is going to help the institutions of the country for the forthcoming elections.
Okay.
Mr. President, you said you had 60 people.
60.
60. And do you think that capacity is enough?
Well, as you heard,
the country?
As you heard our colleague internally, they are going to do sampling.
Yes.
And for us, that is also enough to judge for, because we are not going to manage the process, but to observe. There are some groups which are only 17 or 7. So it's a sampling. A sampling of 60 polling station is really enough.
And this is the biggest group they have brought in. In the past, they didn't even do the long term. Now they are doing long term.
Okay, so it's the first long term observation mission, actually. But Mary, a viewer, is not convinced. She says, you said you have observers all around. I don't think so, since a lot of injustices are happening in constituencies. E.g., we in Ruiru constituency have been training as POs and DPOs, and all of a sudden, 5 days to election, you're told that you have been demoted to clerks through SMS. I'm not sure what you mean by POs and DPOs, Mary. Presiding officers and deputy. Who are these new presiding officers and deputy presiding officers? Can these observers do something about this?
Yeah, well, she's speaking about what is happening now, but the international observers come to observe the elections and not to observe the preparations.
Okay.
But in the case of the African Union, we have sent a 5 persons group since January, touring the country, and to have an idea and to guide later on the big group which arrives. But for these preparations, we could not have people everywhere.
Okay.
I think what's happening is
and
that
we didn't say that we have people all over the country. We say we have 60.
The complaint from that viewer is that there is corruption in recruitment
and electoral
recruitment and the deployment of presiding officers and the clerks. So that, in fact, we got a call yesterday from some place in Eastland where they were saying people were brought in there, others were removed, others were brought in. Depends on who is running the It's corruption in terms of recruitment, because there are so many people who need the jobs. So that's what the issue is.
Okay. Mr. President, several people are critical of something you said on the news yesterday, and I'll take the example of Linus in Ruaraka, who says the retired president asked Kenyans to ignore the advice of the EU and the US. Can you confirm that? And what makes you believe that we should listen to you and not other partners?
The first part I didn't get.
You asked Kenyans to ignore the advice of the EU and the US. And so why should we listen to you and not to other partners, is what Linus in Ruaraka is asking.
No, what I'm saying is that we foreigners can say whatever we want to say, but each citizen must vote according to his own consciousness. Even his father or his mother could not tell him what to vote, how to vote, and the vote is secret. So one should not be afraid of voting according to his own consciousness. If he thinks that to vote for this candidate is good for his country, he votes for it.
Actually, it's not the issue. The issue is the Americans had said, Johnny Carson, and he had argued that if we elect one Jubilee coalition, if we elect Uhuru and Ruto, we'll have sanctions.
He wasn't that specific. Actually, what he said was that we should be clear that that choices have consequences. And what was implied, as Mutegi is saying, is that if we vote in the ICC suspects, that we may face repercussions. Yeah, but
I think that this is trying to direct the voters not to vote for certain candidates. And this is not to be taken by the voter. The voter himself, he have heard this, but he has to take his mind. If he thinks that that candidate will do good for his country, and all what they say that they can overcome this and so on, he votes for his consciousnness. He's there prepared. They have heard us. They have heard the Americans. Now, you Kenyan, you choose what you want to do. You do the best for your country. Don't get afraid. You cannot be threatened. You cannot be threatened. You have to be free in your mind.
But we have been threatened. The Americans are threatened. When they say you vote for this, there are consequences. That's a threat.
Yeah, but
we have been threatened.
You know, I was head of state and had to take decisions. Yeah. And I was threatened, but when I found that this is good for my country, I stick to my decision. And I don't care about the threats. What is good for my country is what I do.
Okay, we'll take a break now. Let me remind you that you're watching Cheche, the program where opinion counts, live on Citizen TV with our guest, the former president of Mozambique, Joaquim Chissano, who is the head of the African Union Observer Mission to the Kenyan election, and Kennedy Misime, chairperson of the Election Observer Group. When we come back, we will focus on the nature of elections in Africa.